All right, welcome back to Weekly Classes Quarter 1, Week 2. This week we're doing Booty Beach. So we're going to do sub-object selection modification, including beveling, insetting, extruding, and inserting, and removing loops and soft selection in Autodesk 3D Studio Max 2014. We're going to start out with our Booty Beach. We're going to start out with our Pirate's Chest. And actually, I'm going to break this day one up into 3 shorter videos. That way you can sort of keep track of where you are and sort of understand what we're doing. So like I said, we're going to break up a longer video into shorter ones and see how that goes. All right, so once again, this is day 1. Today we're going to do day 1A. So basically, we're just going to set up some preferences, talk about our scene undos, talk about our view cube, and change our generic units to centimeters. All right, so first things first, you're going to be starting out with a quad view. So this is probably how you're set up right now. Now, the quad view is okay because it sort of gives you an idea of how things look, and you don't have to follow along right now. But you can see that in the perspective view, you can see a cube, but in the top, I've got a square, in the front, I've got a square, in the left, I've got a square. So if I move this object, or even if I create another one, you can see how they intersect, okay? So removing the camera around, you can see it doesn't actually move these around. But if I move this around like this, and you'll notice that it's moving in 2 views. It's moving 2 directions here, but only 1 direction in the other planes. Okay, so from the front, it's not moving. It's moving in and out, but it's hard to tell. All right. So first things first, we don't use the quad view very often. So because of that, we're going to learn how to hold Alt and press W to maximize a view. Once again, to rotate around, you use Alt and middle mouse button to rotate around, and you can basically spin around your object, and you can use the middle mouse wheel just by holding it down to sort of move back and forth and up and down, and then the mouse wheel itself to spin it in and out to get this. All right, great. So so that's where we're at right now. We're going to delete that. Now today we are going to set up some preferences. Okay, so we're going to look at our scene undo, we're going to do our view cube, and our generic units. Now this won't take long, so it's something that's kind of important that we set up. So let's start with our scene undo. Under customize, we have unit setup, we have preferences, and we have our other preferences will be over here in the window. So let's talk about our scene undo, which is under preferences. Under preferences, you'll find under the general tab, and there's a whole bunch of tabs. Under the general tab, you'll see scene undo. Right now it's set to 20. You should probably set that to 500. If you're at home and your computer starts to chug at 500 levels of undo, then just pull it back some until you get acceptable performance. I found no hit in my performance at 500 levels, and it's saved my butt 100 times. So it's been great. I would stick with 500 levels. So just go ahead, set that there, and click OK. Now, the next thing we're going to do is you probably have the view cube. The view cube is the cube that's up there. See, there's the view cube. Now the view cube is okay when you're first starting out because you're like, oh, I can just click on this and sort of see how the entire scene lays out. That's great, but we use hotkeys. We use Alt and middle mouse button to rotate, middle mouse wheel to zoom in and out, and we can always hit Z to zoom in to fill the screen. So that's not really what we want. We don't need this view cube anymore because we're getting beyond it, and it has a tendency to crash the computer right when you're in the middle of working on something. So we are going to get rid of it. So come up here to this little plus in the corner, go down to view cube, and then get rid of the view cube by clicking on it. All right, great. Now, right now you're probably set up to use generic units. Generic units are fine, although it's a lot better, especially in this class, because we'll be using the 3D printer to print things off, and we'll need to make sure that when we build something, it's the appropriate size for Unreal Tournament, or Unreal 4. Now, everything in Unreal is set to centimeters, so we are going to match that. So we're going to go all the way up here to Customize, click on Customize, and we're going to look for Unit Setup right here. Click on that, And then right now you're probably set to generic units. We want to set that to centimeters, so we're going to use the metric system. All right, just like the rest of the world, we're going to swap to the metric system. Hooray! Now only if we'd follow suit in the States. All right, so that's it. So that's our basic setup. So now we're pretty much ready to go. You can also check your layers and make sure you've got a bunch of layers, but we want to make sure that this layer is the one that's active, so that's good. And we're rendering it, and that's good too. We can turn that off if you have it set up. Basically, this little render column lets us know what will actually render when we render. And rendering is coming up here. That would be F10, render setup, or F9 for render production. Now there's nothing to see, so we render, nothing happens. But that's a good setup. One more thing we should probably set up is hit the number 7. When you hit the number 7, it gives you this information over here. This information tells you how many tries, how many edges and verts are in the scene, and if you've got a second column, it tells you how many you have selected. So I'm going to create a box real quick just so I have something to show you. Now, if I create another box, you can see that right now, if I select something using Q, it stays the same, but it tells me what's selected. Okay, if I create a sphere, and then I select it using Q, the sphere has 960 tries, 1,440 edges, whereas the box has 12 tries and 18 edges. This information is absolutely just crucial to know, especially when we're working with games. So, in order to set that up, we come up to the little plus again, and we come down to configure viewports. Click on that, go to statistics, make sure that you have triangle count, edge count, vertex count, and total and selection. All right. Show statistics and active view should also be selected. You probably have frames per second selected. You can leave it there if you want. You don't need it because we will never worry about frames per second in this viewport. So click apply, click OK. All right, and that's basically it. You've made it through the first video of day 1 of Q1 week 2. Really short, sweet, to the point. You're ready to go. Tomorrow we are going to start on our pirate chest. So we're going to create a box. Now, I should say the next video because it's not tomorrow. It's still today. You're going to move on to this next. You're going to create the box. You're going to extrude the inside. We're going to create the lid. Then we're going to create the hinges. And that'll be it. All right. So that's tomorrow. Or dang it. That is next. So I'll see you in just a few seconds in the next video. Go ahead and leave a comment if you have any questions or if you have any trouble. And I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.